If you ask a lot of people what they want today, many of them will say a faster horse.
Welcome to Fordify Live with your host, Ford Saeks.
So here's the full quote attributed to Henry Ford. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Now, this quote is often cited in discussions about innovation and creativity and the importance of anticipating customer needs beyond their current understanding or expectations. And that is what today's episode is all going to be about. And our guest today is Rick Fox. He's the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Brightway. It's Brightway Insurance. You probably heard about him. Rick Fox, welcome to today's episode. So what does that quote really mean?
So, Ford, thanks for having me. I appreciate you. I appreciate all you do. We had you at our conference this year, and I'm still getting getting feedback about how impactful it was to have you there. So thank you for doing that. What that quote means to me is I think that it is very easy for people to get stuck in their worlds, their day-to-day, just getting from A to B. And so they need kind of a level setter. And so Henry Ford's quote is, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And then Henry went out and built an automobile. So not only does that level set to me that people need to think about the world in different ways, but it also gives you a trigger when they fall back into their comfort zone, because like I cannot tell how many times to a point where my people are probably tired of me saying it, but we'll be in a meeting or we'll be talking about an initiative, we'll be talking about where we want to go. And I'll say, is that just a faster horse? And they know exactly what I mean. So I think the other thing that we have that I always use is the line, we've always done it that way, red circle, red line through, just to make sure that we're thinking about things. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get a faster horse in some areas where you just want to get better, but not change in everything or evolve. But I think there's so much change in our world and so much change in our consumers and our buyers and the people that we work with, that having that mindset and framing up that idea that we have to look at it through these other lenses and look for change and be comfortable being uncomfortable as it relates to change is the way that businesses will succeed moving forward with the pace that not only technology moves, but that our world is moving today.
Right. And so for those of you listening, this is for informational and educational purposes only. We're not telling you what to do, but it's just like when I speak to an organization, like when I came into your conference, there's three things that help a business grow. There's the mindset. If they don't have the mindset dialed in, then nothing's going to help. Then they have strategies. Well, in your case, Brightway Insurance is a franchise brand. So you want your franchisees to follow your systems and to use the tools that you've used and not try to reinvent the wheel. So in that case, it's not about looking for an option other than a faster horse. It's riding the horse you're supposed to ride. And then of course it's yeah. And then of course it's tactics. But I think in today's day and age, when people, they view podcasts and they participate in online training. And what I would say is we're not trying to change you. Like if you're listening to this right now, it's not saying you're doing something wrong, you need to change. Think about it like a diamond. We want to add another facet to you. Yeah. So you keep the tools and the resources and the brain power that you already have, but we want to be a catalyst to look at the world a little bit differently. And that's why I thought today's episode would be so powerful, because I think so many people, I know when I work with strategic clients and on their coaching and with their consulting, they get stuck. They tell me, Rick, well, we've tried to sell this and it won't sell. And I say, okay, well, what did you do? Well, we contacted everybody. Okay. Who's everybody? Well, we talked to 3 people and 2 of them were, one was my wife. I mean, like that's not everybody, but they have this belief. And sometimes you have to listen to their language and drill down, because there's so many other options today that we're faced with. And so trying to figure out what's the highest and best use of our time.
That's right. No, I think Ford, I think you nailed it, because again, if it ain't broke, you don't want to fix it, right? Like keep doing the things you're doing that are working, but be very open to the concepts of what could be better. And getting people to buy into that that's at least 3/4 of the battle, because again, people are comfortable. They're used to doing what I believe is the output of something versus what is the outcome of that particular thing that you're either trying to change or move forward. So you've got this opportunity to get people excited and empower them to want to think in different ways, to think about the future or tomorrow through a different lens. I just think people really want that, but sometimes they don't even know it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I know that, whenever I go to an organization, I ask them what their top 3 challenges are, and usually it's finding, attracting, and retaining and engaging top talent. And then it's they want to operate more efficiently and more productively, or they want to increase leads and increase sales, and they want more high value clients, more ideal clients. And so when it comes to the thinking, and when you think about hiring and working with team members, sometimes dogs don't hunt. I mean, I use that, that dog won't hunt. Sometimes you can give them all the resources. You can lead them to water. I know we're using a lot of quotes today, but you can lead them to water, but they don't drink. And, you can't put a square peg in a round hole. You can coach people to standard, give them all the opportunities, create an environment, create a great culture. But sometimes I have found that you have to free them up for new opportunities. Sometimes that dog's just not going to hunt. And if you've done everything you can on your end and that person or group is not performing, then you have to take a really hard look at maybe it's time to free them up for new opportunities. So,
Right.
Don't anybody weaponize this episode and send it to your boss and send it to your friends. You should be fired. But when it comes to, I know you do a lot with empowering your team to be successful. You run a great team, obviously with your title, Chief Revenue Officer. And for those of you listening to the podcast, it's Rick Fox from Brightway Insurance, brightway.com. Okay, just want to make sure that gets in there. So what do you do to inspire your team when maybe they're underperforming? I know you've had a formula. I've heard you share it before on other. I've listened to you on other podcasts. Share it. Was it Viper? What was your formula?
Yeah. So I try to stay, and this is for me to use for myself, and then I bring people in as they need to. But the acronym is Viper. So first and foremost, it's vision, because like you going to a team, and in my case, because I live on the revenue side, saying we need to sell more. That's not a vision. That is like, what is the vision? So like, I'll give you an example. When I think about our vision, it is protecting people in the marketplace. Every consumer needs insurance. So putting their most protected assets in the hands of somebody that can take care of them when times go bad. That's a vision. That is the way we look at it. And we want to take over the world. We have 400 franchises today. We want 1,000 in 3 years. And we want to be a household name. Some of you have probably already heard of us. Some of you probably have not. But not just let's go sell more. It's let's get, the vision is we are doing something that we wake up in the morning and we feel good about looking in the mirror, because every one of our customers has peace of mind that they have somebody behind them that is protecting the most important things in their life, which is what insurance is going to do. So vision. The second piece, and this is very important, the letter I in Viper, is involvement. If you involve your teams in the process, in the decisions, in how we're going to take it to market, whatever it is, you're going to get more buy-in because they're involved. And with that comes the P, which is what is the purpose? So we have a vision, but now what's the purpose? So our purpose of doing this is to create efficiency. Our purpose to do this is because our customers are better off if they have 3 policies with you versus 1, because that's putting them into a bundle. That's a purpose. Number 3 is E on the Viper is empowerment. So now you give people reachable goals, stretch goals, but reachable goals, and empower them to go figure it out. This is the faster horse. It doesn't just mean we're going to do it the way we've always done it. It means that we get the opportunity to think about what ifs and then take them out for a run, take them out for a drive and see if they work and figure it out fast and then try something else. And we give our teams, especially our leaders, the feeling of empowerment to be able to go do that. And then R is repeat. It's shampoo, rinse, repeat. So it's vision, involvement, purpose, empowerment, and repeat. And repeat is not only just start over and go again, but it's sticking in that pocket of where you're already at. Think about it this way. I always use this as an example. You're in line at the grocery store and the parent in front of you is with their kid. And of course they put the candy at the top of the grocery
Right.
the counter. And the kid says, "Can I have some candy?" "No, you cannot." "Please, please let me have candy." "No, you cannot." I really want candy. No. Okay, just this once. And that's the repeat, is stay in your vision, stay with your purpose, and keep empowering those folks, cascading the information and getting all the way through that. When you do that, that's almost like it's not, I won't say guaranteed, but it is very hard to not succeed in what you're trying to get to when you have that kind of alignment, when you have that kind of buy-in, and when people feel like they're part of what's going on and they see the vision. Man, that's some powerful stuff right there, Ford.
Yeah, it is, especially when it comes to growth. You know, there's a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs who become franchisees because they have to wear multiple hats. They have to wear the operations hat, the finance. If they're working with any type of supplies, they have to deal with the supply chain and inventory. Then you've got the local area market, the trade area. Then they've got the hiring and staffing and equipment and just the day-to-day operations, hiring the team, the management, the sales, and then depending on the brand, if they're able to do any social media marketing or any networking or gifting or, you know, building partnerships. And so there's a lot. And what I've found in working with literally hundreds of thousands of franchisees and being a franchisor myself in a different brand and a franchisee, you know, I've found that when I work with multi-unit owners or multi-brand owners, you know, success leaves clues. And I think what you just shared with your Viper formula is so clear. You know, it's only a few steps, and you go back to the basics. I think sometimes people are always looking at, well, the grass is greener over there. Well, you still have to mow the damn lawn, right? I mean, so, you know, the grass isn't greener. I mean, maybe you just need to take a hard look at myself. I know for me, whenever I've been successful, I love to take personal accountability and responsibility. But then when I've failed, I've learned over the years, because I've failed more than I've succeeded, that, you know, I'm fully responsible. Who's always at the scene of the crime? You know, back in the day when I had a sporting goods company with manufacturing. I had 140 employees. We were in 4,000 dealers across the United States. We sold through Sharper Image and Sky Mall and those airplane magazines and Williams Sonoma. We were everywhere. In mass merchants, we sold through everything. And, you know, I had a lot of turnover because I was a driver, Rick. I was the kind of guy who walked into a meeting and said, what the hell's going on right now? Why can't we get more of this done? And blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I was definitely a driver. And then as I got bigger and bigger and bigger, I really had to have really strong managers and really strong leaders. And that's when I really learned the difference between leadership, setting those visions, creating that environment, creating that culture of communication, and management, being able to actually identify what needs to get done and making sure it gets done. And I always had those two things kind of confused. And I always found out that when I hired my weakness, so I was really strong in marketing and sales, and so that's my lane, right? And that's what I speak about in business growth and all that. But I also had to learn the difference between leadership, management, team building, culture, communication, and change. Those are very different modalities. And so there's no shortage, I think, for anybody listening, if you're on the C-level executive team, or whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're just here as a fan listening today to the episode. There's no excuses anymore. When you have AI at your fingertips and all the tools, I mean, it's actually information overload, which is why podcasts and following leaders that you like are so important, because it cuts all those other choices off. And that's what I liked about working with Brightway. You guys were really clear about your franchisee. You set a really good vision. Everybody was bought into it. Everybody had a clear purpose. There was a family feeling to what you were doing. And you just launched a new brand. I love the new colors and love the new brand. So what do you see some of the challenges you face? Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
There's the new brand.
I'm glad I got the new logo on the overlay. So I did a good.
Thank you for doing that. We would have had a problem.
Yeah, no problem. I would have done something different there. But so tell me, now that you've got the Viper formula and you've got your team, what are some of the things that you see challenging in the marketplace with the different generations and everything that's going on? And there's increased competition. Obviously, in insurance, there's huge competition. You know, you're not the little green thing. You know, how do you compete against that? So how do you compete against insurance? Because you can't turn on if you watch any TV on regular TV between 5 and 7 p.m., you're going to see something about insurance, right?
Yep, that's right.
And I don't believe you have to put those millions of dollars into the national advertising. So how do you compete, and what are you doing to compete?
Yeah. So if you take a step back and you look at today's modern consumer, and in this case, specifically as it relates to insurance, obviously the pandemic had a very big impact on the way the world was viewed and the way people consumed not only information, but consumed products. And and the companies that spend billions of dollars,
Right.
I'll name them. It's Geico, it's Progressive, and you can't. I watch a lot of sports on television, and I see them on every single one of my broadcasts doing funny things. And what they've done is they have taken the route of commoditizing insurance, which is I can go to the world has been Amazon for it. Like everybody is
Right.
click buy. You know that. So is insurance the same? Because there are still things in the world that are not something that is a commodity. I'd say if you were going to go have surgery, are you looking for the fastest, quickest way online? Or do you want the best surgeon who's going to take care of you?
Right.
This is where it breaks down. So like the slogan is 15 minutes can save you 15%. This shouldn't take 15 minutes. It should probably take longer than that, because we need to make sure that if anything goes wrong, you, your wife, your family, whatever, your earnings for the next 20 years are protected. That takes a professional. And so where the competition lies right now isn't just strictly in who has the lowest rates, which is what the sentiment has become, because that's not it. I don't want you to pay 3 times more. And in the world that we've created with choice, being an independent agent, our franchises, our agencies, they have choice, and they probably can get you as close to the lowest rate as possible. But they're also going to make sure that they've curated the right coverages for you in your particular situation. This is not cookie cutter. 15 minutes, I could go save 80% by doing that. But I know what I'm doing, and I would have no coverage. And if anything went wrong, I'd be in a bad place. So what we're looking at this for is we have the curated choice, first and foremost. But we need to educate people that this is not just a commodity. And why people get stuck in that is, one, that's what they do in their whole day. And two is maybe nothing's gone wrong for them for many years. I haven't had a car accident.
Right.
Nothing's happened in my house. Like, you're right. All it takes is once, and it could completely change your world forever. So the way we look at this is, again, we want to give curated choice, give the best options, give our agency ability to say, Ford, I've looked at your risk, your homes, your cars, your boats, your this, your that, your business, and this is how much coverage you need. And these are the carriers that we believe should cover that for you. That's something that people, even in today's world, want. But most of them, or a very large chunk of them, don't even realize it anymore because it has been so commoditized. So it's our job to educate them. Part of the new brand is to make sure that people understand why it's so important, understand the value of protecting what's most important, and what we call future-proofing your life.
Right.
Because I could tell you horror stories about people that did not have the right coverage, were not future-proofed, and now for 20 years are paying the price and have lost anything they had gained over the years leading up to that bad experience. Because people say about insurance agents, they're like the police. You never want them around until you need them around. And so we're trying to put an education on, and that's the vision. The vision is, look, this is way more important than how much it costs and how quick you can get it. Now, we want it to be quick, and we want them to feel that they can use self-service, that they can use portals, that the way they would do with their banking or Netflix or whatever. But at the same time, behind that is somebody that is a professional, licensed insurance professional that will take care of you today so you can breathe easy and know that no matter what, everything you've worked for, everything you own, everything you might earn in the future is protected. And we call that future-proofing your life.
So one of the things in sales that always comes up when I do sales training is the lifetime value of a customer And in insurance, in another life, when I was in my early 20s, I was actually a licensed insurance agent. And so I sold commercial insurance to ag. I actually drove around the state of Kansas and went on farms and walked through the farm and walked up to the farmer. I mean, it was cold call city, man. It was another world back then. So I did it the old school, hard, tough way. And it was always, build that book of business up. And over the years, I've worked with a lot of insurance companies and financial tech and real estate and other businesses. And whether it's B2B or B2C, what I have found the mindset of a lot of salespeople that aren't successful is apathy after the sale. They make a sale, especially in something like insurance, where it's a renewable commodity, or not a commodity, but it's continuity is the word I was looking for. It's a continuity program where they continue to renew every year, hopefully, and continue to add more different types of policies so that it's easier for them. But I found that in some of the insurance companies that I've worked with, and I've had 17 different businesses. So I've had commercial insurance, and I have residential insurance and key man insurance and non-hired auto insurance. And, I spend a lot of money, but apathy after the sale. So I think that especially now the relationship is so much more important. So is there anything that you're doing with your agents to help them connect in between the time when there's renewal, not just, it's time for renewal, let's go back and review your policies?
Yeah, and it's a great call out, because that right now is the expectation. So Deloitte did a study that, this is when I was in the insurance technology side of the business, back in the agency side now, but Deloitte did a study that said 3 out of 5 consumers that were contacted or that took part in the survey said once they bought their insurance, they never heard from their agent again.
That's very true.
And you hit it on the head. This is not a business like, if I sell you a car, maybe I'll send you a follow-up email and thank you, but what else do we have to do except maybe someday you'll buy another car from me? It's very different in insurance, because you buy a policy on May 1st, next May 1st, you're going to buy it again, and I'm going to get paid again. So it is very important that I build that relationship. So this is where you start to see technology playing a much larger role than it ever has. And what I mean by that is being able to automate marketing and make sure that, and I say marketing in a way that you're adding value, not just, hey, buy more products from me.
Right.
But hey, you live in Florida, it's May, we're hitting hurricane season, and here's 3 things you need to know about what to do in the case of a hurricane. That's value. Hey, I noticed that you have a 15-year-old in your house that's about to get their license or their learner's permit. Here's a link to an article that's very interesting about youthful operators and what you should think about. Those are value points. That is the difference between an agent that in the study got the business and went on to the next thing, and those that are deciding that this, to your point of long time value, how much money can I make off these people? And again, I don't mean it in a bad way, because I'm protecting them. They should be with me, but they should be with me for a long time. So I have to continue to earn that by having value. And so automated marketing today, in fact, one of the companies I used to run was an automated marketing company in the insurance space called Agency Revolution. So I know a lot about this. And we saw that retention went up 1, 2, even 3 points off of just a few touch points throughout the year of value. Welcome kit. Here's the agency. Here's the phone number you need to know. Here's the portal. Here's the link. Here's what you need to know about X, Y, and Z. Here's the team. Those are all important touch points that can happen behind the scenes if done right. Again, don't just schlep product on them,
right,
but add value. And it looks and feels to be the person, like the email comes from me if I'm the agency principal. And they start to feel more connected to not only who you are, but what you add to them. Because again, you're going to keep educating them that, because they're going to see that little lizard again, and they're going to see flow, and they're going to think I could save money. But again, like I said about the surgery, I'm not looking for the cheapest. I'm looking for the best. And if
it's so important.
Best, close to cheapest, we're all winning. But that's up to me, and that's my responsibility. And that's where I think marketing automation and technology, the use of good CRM front end, is the difference in money in your pocket.
Yeah. So marketing to me is just giving people enough information that they can make good decisions. The purpose of communication is the response it elicits. And so what I work with organizations, whether it's in sales and marketing, is to map out their entire customer journey from the time they're a suspect to a prospect to a qualified prospect to a customer or client, all the way to an advocate that's going to increase your net promoter score and be an advocate and a referral source, right? So you've got that whole chain. And what's really important that we're saying here, and I just want to echo what Rick just said, is look at your customer journey and where are the opportunities where you can at least stay in touch with them so you don't lose the business. You know, some of those pieces, someone might say, well, I don't get any, this takes a lot of time to send those special reports or those little videos or those touch points or thank them. The problem is you're building a relationship and because they're inundated by the elephants on the street that are advertising millions and, save money, save money, save money.
Billions of dollars.
That you've got to look at it and say it's about the relationship. So the investment, what you're doing is you're planting seeds so that you can harvest them for the renewal. And otherwise, what happens is if someone does make another personal introduction to them, they'll say, well, I haven't heard from my agent in a year. Let me go ahead and switch. I mean, that every time I've switched, it's because somebody solicited me. They did it in a soft way. They built a relationship. They gave me something of value. They said, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? I want to look at 3 things. Or, hey, we've got this new policy. And just enough to build a relationship. They weren't salesy. And then I find out what they can do for me. And I know, like, and trust them. Then I'm more willing to do that, especially if it's a referral from somebody that I'm working with. I just got a referral from my digital agency from one of my good friends and colleagues, another Hall of Fame speaker, Scott McCain. Scott McCain's an expert on distinction and written a lot of books, millions of books. I don't know millions, but he's sold hundreds of thousands of books. But Scott's a really great guy. And so someone asked Scott, hey, who can help you with your digital marketing? And Scott wrote the email, CC'd me on it and said, hey, this is the guy that I'd recommend. And now I've got a new contact and a new relationship. So it's looking at your customer journey, look where the touch points are. And you only have to be 1 or 2% better than the competition. People think, oh, it's going to take me. How can I compete with those big companies? And I tell brands all the time, whether they're a franchise brand or regular business, you can compete. There's plenty of business out there for everybody. It's just like me as a keynote speaker, right? There's 100,000 keynote speakers. How do I position myself against everybody else, especially what's going on with the economy and the culture and with the different needs of every organization? Why should they book me over the competition? Well, why do you think I do Fordify Live Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Central? So my little shameless plug here, join us Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Central on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Well, the reason I do this show is multiple reasons. One, I get to learn from you. I mean, I actually was taking notes and I wrote down the whole Viper formula because I think that's really clear and it really gives a framework to things. So I like analogies like that. And then I went and said, so I do the podcast to meet experts and to continue to learn. I'm sharing this content. It also allows me to get CEOs on my program that I can interview and learn from, and then I can also build a relationship. So now I've done such a great job with all these CEOs and executive levels from all these brands that if I do solicit them, and they go to my page, they're like, oh, well, he's got a lot of connections. He must be connected. And it's the same thing with an insurance agent or a retail store. So the real takeaway, I know it's a long road to a tiny house. What I would say is look at your touch points. And today, who could you reach out to today that you haven't reached out to, that you've done business with, that you could just thank him and say, hey, I was thinking about you today. Hope you're doing well, or congratulations on this. It's the same thing on LinkedIn. If I want to work with somebody, Rick, what I'll do is if I want to work with Brightway, before I got the hold, I would go to Brightway. I would connect with people on Brightway Insurance, and I wouldn't ask for anything, and I wouldn't say anything sleazy or salesy. Oh, gee, you keep showing up in my feed, so I thought we should connect. No, come on, throw up. That's not authentic. But if I see you post something or see your team post something, or maybe you won an award, I can comment and say, hey, congratulations. Well, if I do that a few times, that's great. And the next best way, and this is for your insurance agents too, if they post about one of their prospects and say, hey, congratulations to ABC Company for opening their new location, and they tag ABC Company in the post, when they log into LinkedIn, it'll say, Rick Fox has just tagged you in a post, and like, who the hell's Rick Fox? And then they go and see you. So there's no shortage of tools. I think the real takeaway is that the grassroots common sense things, where do your prospects hang out? How do you get in front of your ideal prospects and add value? Build a relationship first, be of service, be of value. There's no shortage of needs. And I would say, before I turn it back over to you, is just ask yourself, what are the top 10 or 15 questions that I get asked most frequently, or from my clients and customers? And that would tell you what kind of content to create.
I think everything you said, Ford, is spot on. And it makes me think about you, as you were talking about yourself, that there's this level of genuineness that, there's this level of genuineness that is required. Like, you cannot be good at this thing. You can fake it till you make it for a while, but you have to believe in the concepts of what you're doing. And like having you on stage, listening to your podcast, Fordify Live, all of these things, they are business generating activities. Just like we have a podcast, and I do it for thought leadership because I've been doing this for 115 years now, it feels like.
Yep.
And I want to make sure that people in our industry get the information they need, because I love the industry I'm in. My belief and passion in what I do is, I hope it comes across, because it is extremely genuine. That's the way I feel about you. For anybody that's listening in, if you don't believe in what you're doing, then you've already put yourself in a losing position. You can do all the things, and I'll have a few comments on the social media part in a second, but really, and I think that goes back to some of the stuff we talked about earlier, Ford, and the stuff you presented on stage, which is, what's the vision? What do I believe in? What is my purpose in this job, in this world? And if you really truly believe it, because I said it, I want to make money. Like that's I don't need to say that. If you know me, look at my title, it's got revenue in it. That's what I do. But I'm going to do that somewhere with people that I enjoy to be with and that I want to serve. And in our industry, that's a big deal, because there are a lot of people out there that are lazy or using it as a lifestyle kind of a business, which takes me to my second point. So if you are genuine, the second one is just work harder than everybody else. Another quote that I always say, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Right. And
that just flat out, that says it all. Because I believe that you can get almost anywhere you want just by outworking everyone. But then that genuine belief and passion in what you do is what puts you over the top. So you talked about social. Like, I get 20 to 30 requests to connect a day. And, it usually says business development rep from X company.
Right.
And sometimes I connect on them, because I like what they're either, but then there's an auto response that's like, hey, I saw you out there and I really thought we should connect, and your business, and I get it. Let use an example. Like, we have developers and we want to show you, does it say tech anywhere in my title? Why are you reaching out to me? So I'll have a conversation. In fact, I've done business with people that have just purely solicited me, but otherwise if you're not genuine, I have no interest in that. So I think when you said, like, if I want to be engaged with somebody, I engage with them, not on a buy my product note. It's commenting on their post. It is tagging them in something else that's cool. It is congratulating them on something that they've done. That's how you get to be in a relationship. It's like when you're courting your future wife. You didn't like cold call her and then have something on reset that was going to send her a note every 3 days. It was hard work, right?
Right.
And I'm married to Megan Fox. I mean, think about that. Like, that's a not that Megan Fox, Megan Fox. But
it's good though.
What I mean. Now, so does that make sense, Ford? Like, to me, it feels like if you could live through the Viper, like, once you're there, but to get there, it's genuine and hardworking, and you're really close. I mean, you've got all the makings to be great.
Yeah, I think it's really just about being authentic. I mean, when I do this show, I try not to cuss. In my real life, I sometimes will cuss, but I actually have my little beep button, so I can try to, if I can hit it in time.
You had that because you knew I was going to cuss.
Yeah, that's right.
Why.
So, but it's really just about showing up authentically. And I think that, if you're not happy in what you're doing, the first thing to do is to look in the mirror. If you're always pointing at everybody else and blaming everybody else, you have to look at yourself. There's so much that you can take control of. And when I fail, like I said, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I really go back and I say, okay, I'm personally responsible for all my actions and, more importantly, my inactions. So, I'm responsible for what I do, but I'm also responsible for the things I didn't do. So whether it's a past due bill or a speaking engagement that I lost or whatever, I always ask myself first, okay, how did I contribute to this? What's the lesson I can learn from it? And I think if you ask better questions, you get better answers. And so, but it's because I spend a lot of time in personal growth. I mean, as an expert in helping people grow, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I participate in a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of people. I read a lot of books. I've got a lot of books behind me. Let's see if I can hit the right camera. Whoops, probably not right now, but they're all back down there.
Yeah.
But I don't read them all like cover to cover and highlight everything, but I'll scan it, or now I'll go to ChatGPT or Perplexity, and I'll say, hey, how do I do this? I've got a challenge with this employee. I've got a challenge with this customer. Act as my personal life coach. And now with AI that has read all the books, right, I can get real. And if I say, like one of the guys I highly respect in sales is Phil M. Jones. Phil is just amazing at what he's done with exactly what to say. I mean, here are the phrases you should say, and his popular book, Exactly What to Say. And so I can go to ChatGPT and I can say, use Phil M. Jones methodology. Don't plagiarize him. It's not for a blog post, but I'll say, act like Phil M. Jones and help me overcome this top objection, or give me 3 ways to follow up on this client. And so the real takeaway here is with technology, we're getting smarter and we're getting dumber, because now people are retaining less information because they know, I don't know where my cell phone is. They know that right here, they've got their little personal computer, and now you got AI pins and all this extra stuff that you can have. So I think people are getting more stupid on one end, but it's going to make the personal connections even more valuable. So especially with Brightway Insurance, making sure that your reps are personally reaching out and being authentic in it is going to give you a huge competitive advantage, because profit hides a lot of mistakes. How do you think those other companies can afford to do those billions of dollars in advertising? I mean, why are they wasting all that money, right? As opposed to really truly being of service. And that's what when I got the pre-event event and got hired from you guys, I just loved everything from beginning to end. And you guys did a really great job of supporting your franchisees, giving them feedback loops, giving them on-site training for the different areas, giving them tools and techniques that they could use, and really caring. And that's not what a lot of franchise brands do. I mean, a lot of them, they oversell their franchisees, they oversell territories, they force them into agreements that don't work. I've got a really good friend who's in my entrepreneur group, EO group, entrepreneur organization, and he's struggling right now. He's one of the largest franchisees in a different plan, and they're just, I mean, every time I'm talking to him, not to give away anything confidential, but I feel really bad for the guy, because he's got multiple locations, many. And, the requirements, he can't sell one if it's not underperforming, and just, it's a mess. But I like the fact that what you're doing, I mean, you've reached 400 units, which is huge. Usually at 100 is the sweet spot. If you can get over 100, you're doing well. And then with your growth, the way you're growing, I think you're only going to continue to grow. So as we wrap up this episode, any closing thoughts that you'd share with our listeners, or takeaways that they should do or be thinking about in this new millennium?
Yeah, I think if I could just, again, the 2 big things for me, one is the faster horse example. You have to use it with Henry Ford to make it really make sense. But if you not only use that in the way you think about your business from a leadership position or whatever, but the way that you communicate that with the people in your organization, I think is so powerful. And again, gives you a trigger for a month later or whatever to say, are we thinking about this like a faster horse? Or what I say is, what's the rocket ship? Like, if that's the faster horse, what's the rocket ship? So that's the one thing. And then the second one is just those 2 things. You use the word authentic. I use the word genuine. To me, they're fairly similar, but it's that plus hard work. And when you made a good statement there when we talked about hard work, and you start talking about ChatGPT and all these other things, when I say hard work, I don't mean just dial more. That isn't what I mean. Hard work is working to be better. And if that's listening to podcasts, if that's doing practice scripts when you're driving in your car to know what to say, it's to fine tuning your 15 questions that you want to ask. That's work. That's the most important work. It's like if you think about, my son is a college basketball player and he's worked really hard and earned it. But if he just showed up to practice every day and then left and came home, he wouldn't be nearly as good as the extra work that he's done on top of that to fine tune his craft. The shots, the dribbling, the things that he does in the garage when he was 7 years old, like to get better. This is what he has wanted to do. And so he's taken that step. And that's the same thing people need to do. When I say hard work, I don't just mean, well, I made 60 calls instead of 50. Well, make 40 and make 40 really good ones. Like that's the work you need to do behind the scenes. So if you do those two things and you get people involved in the process, like I said on the Viper thing, man, Ford, that not only is fun, but fun translates to wins, and everybody loves winning. So I think that's the way I look at it.
I certainly agree. I mean, it's the old adage, you can't run east looking for a sunset. I mean, you can run as fast as you want. You're going the wrong direction. So it's not about doing more. It's about being better. My motto for this year is actually do less, better, right? Because I'm an entrepreneur. So I see opportunities everywhere. I want to do affiliate marketing. I want to do a new book. I'm doing this, and I've got all these different things. And I've learned as I've gotten a little bit more wise and worked with experts like you is, okay, what's the highest and best use of my time? Don't run east looking for a sunset. Make sure that I'm effective versus just efficient. See, efficient would say, okay, I did 40 calls, I need to do 60. Effective would measure and say, how productive am I actually doing that? There was a great viral video that went around because I guess I'm just paraphrasing here, but a salesperson went to, she got fired. I think it was from Cloudflare, and she got fired. She was in sales, had a high paid job, but after 90 days, she hadn't made a sale. So they let her go. So she went to social media and said, look, I made so many calls, and, they shouldn't just fire me because I made all my calls. And then there was all these people in the comments. Some people were hating on the company, oh, they should have done that. And me being a company owner, I'm like, I can't afford to keep paying somebody if they're not producing. I mean, I'm just looking at it as an old school business person. So, any comments related to the belief system that people have when they're stuck thinking, well, I'm really busy, but that doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, I think Ford, you see this a lot, and I've worked in large companies and started, my own from me being employee one. I think where that gets, where it becomes you said it on stage, and it resonates with me throughout everything. You mentioned it again today. The word is mindset.
Yep.
And the mindset of so many people, and especially today's youth, and you and I can say that now because we're
we can say it, yeah,
right. but if you think about the kind of people you want to be around, and this is the best way I can describe it, is there's those people that are trying their hardest not to get fired,
yep.
and those that think they want to do stuff that's going to be great. And it could be where they work now or wherever, but they want to be great. Surround yourself with those kind of people. And you mentioned before, like the excuse, that the engine turns on. I have people that I used to be friends with that, frankly, I can barely tolerate with how much they complain about the job that they sit in. And my answer to it with very limited patience is then get a different job.
Right.
Find a different career. Find your passion. So when you find people that aren't trying to check a box to make it through the next meeting so they don't get fired, and you find people that want to set the world on fire, that to me is the people you want to surround yourselves with. And that's the kind of person you want to be. So start looking in the mirror.
Yeah, I had to hit a button.
Start looking in the mirror and asking yourself the questions. Are you doing what when that happened? Why was it when you didn't get playing time, why was it the coach's fault? When you didn't get the promotion, why was it your boss's? Like, it's so easy to just say that's someone else's. And as soon as you say that's on me and move forward from there, it opens up a lot of avenues for just growth, personal growth, because that's my thing is like, I just want to constantly, if just today I get 1% better and I do that and I string that together for a bunch of days, that's a pretty good week, pretty good month, pretty good year.
Well, that's a great place to leave it on. So our guest today has been Rick Fox. Rick, thank you so much for being here today.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Ford. And thanks again for all you do for everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Fordify Live. Make sure to like, comment, and share this episode on your favorite social media platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the Business Growth Show podcast, available wherever you get your podcast streaming fix. We air weekly at 11 a.m. Central Time. So until next week, keep pushing the boundaries and never stop growing.